Welcome everyone to episode 79 of Kowalski Analysis. I'm your host, Rob Kowalski, and this is a podcast designed to help you navigate the weight and become the best version of yourself. Got a great guest today. Really excited to talk to this lady. Her name is Chengi Tobun. Hopefully I pronounced that right. She's actually better known as the Black Swan, and she is a Christian dating and relationship expert. She's an international best-selling author. She's a speaker, and she's on a mission to help 1 billion women create healthy love lives. Chengi helps women unlock their femininity, attract high-quality men, and position themselves for the love they crave and deserve. She is the founder and CEO of the Black Swan Relationship Academy, and her popular YouTube channel with the same name has garnered over 4.5 million views. So let's get ready to bring her in. Do me a favor, everybody. Drop a comment. Let me know that you are here. Say hi, hey, or hello. If it's your first time watching one of these, or even if you're listening, if you're able to comment, let me know where you're watching from, and we may be able to connect you with other like-minded people in your area to do life with. We have about 75 cities that with clusters of people. Congratulations, by the way, to Dallas, who just became our 4th City Fam chapter. So that was really exciting. And hopefully we'll have a couple more before the year ends. So, all right, with no further ado, let's bring in Chengi. Hey there.
Hello.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love your accent. Are you in England?
I am indeed, Hertfordshire to be precise. England, Hertfordshire, but I'm only 5 minutes from London, so I'm not that far away.
Yeah, you sound like downtown Julie Brown to me. Do you remember her?
Really?
Don't remember her? MTV? No, I got shows my age. Anyway,
Oh.
let me make. Did I pronounce your name right? Is it Chengi Tobun?
Chengi Tobun, yeah.
Okay, good. Do I call you the Black Swan or is that?
You can call me the Black Swan. You can call me Chengi. Whatever works for you.
Okay, Chengi's good.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure. We finally got it done, didn't we?
Yes. We've been chatting for, I guess, a few months now, so it's good that we're able to get it in the calendar. So before we get into it, we like to do a little thing here called this or that, and that's basically where I just kind of fire 5 this or that questions at you, so our viewers or our listeners can get to know you a little bit better. You ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Be a good singer or be a good dancer?
Good dancer.
Good dancer. Okay. Facial hair or clean shaven?
Facial hair.
Okay. Perfect teeth or perfect hair?
Perfect teeth.
Okay. Saturdays or Sundays?
Sundays.
Okay. Fame or fortune?
Fortune.
Okay, there you go. All right, awesome. Let's get into it. So I think the first question I think that everyone will want to know is a little bit about you and how you became a dating and relationship expert. I read on your website that you were once a quote unquote complete dating disaster. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Oh dear. Well, to be honest, the whole business work that I do was really like most of us when we stumble on our purpose. We're stumbling, but God was literally sending us on that path. And basically, I got married as a 19-year-old virgin girl, and he's all I knew, and got divorced at 33. And obviously zero experience with men. So that's why I was really a dating disaster. I was very, 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 very naive. Mm-hmm. But what's really interesting about the gift is I was always helping people through relationships, even from the age of 9. I was helping my mom through her marriage with my dad. I was helping my friends. So I've always been doing this work. So, eventually when I kind of worked it out, it was awful. Dating was awful. Dating is still not a very pleasant experience.
Are you single now?
It's better. I'm in a relationship with someone.
Okay.
But yeah, which is nice. But it was a bit of a journey yeah, trying to figure out, things had changed a lot since I was dating. I mean, I grew up in Zimbabwe where you dated the one guy, he was across the road, you knew his parents. It's kind of really old school when I was dating. So when I came into the modern dating world, it was like, ah! So I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm one of these people, when something is broken, I'm obsessed with fixing it. It's just how I am. If something doesn't make sense, I'm going to find a way for it to make sense. So it kind of sent me on a rabbit hole, because I was like, but I'm a wife material woman. How come nobody wants to marry me? And I finally kind of worked it out, and it was way deeper than I'd anticipated. It's a great dating world once you understand why the conditions can make you such a great person inside. You know, it's like the refiner's fire. If you understand why the heat, you will understand this because you're being purified. So it's actually been an amazing journey, more so back to myself, and realizing that, like I teach and show and coach women all over the world, that it was never about my ex-husband, what he did, what I did, what we didn't do, what we didn't know, or the circumstances that surrounded that. It was more to do with how broken I was as a human and as a woman. I came into the marriage broken, you know, he came into the marriage broken. So we could only break each other and break things that were sacred, right? So it kind of led me down the road, you know, so it made forgiveness easy. It made moving forward easy. It made opening my heart to being a healthy person to love easy. Took me 10 years to fix the brokenness, because I didn't have anyone to go to. There were no real kind of people that do what I do at the time. So I went to Jesus and we worked it out. And here I am.
How long were you single from the time you're divorced until you met this next person that you're involved with?
I've been single for about 12 years. It's
That's a long
taken
time.
about 12. I was engaged 2 years ago, or about 3 years ago. I was engaged to be married 3 years ago. But again, I hadn't done all my healing. I wasn't at the place that I needed to be. So I'm grateful to God that didn't really become a marriage. And my dating patterns are very specific in that I take a long time out of the dating market to heal. You don't have to, but because I can condense a lot of people's healing into 3 months, because I know how to create the process. But for me, I was living out the process, learning the process, praying through the process. And I'm one of these people called highly sensitive people. I'm an HSP. And a highly sensitive person is somebody that feels everything at 101%. So a breakup for me is not the same as a breakup for a normal person. It's devastating. It literally would take me, before I learned how to heal and learned how to break up and all these courses that I make, it would take me about 2 to 3 years to get over a disappointment with the man. So hence the 12 years, they add up eventually.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that'll make you not want to date, right? That'll make you not want to get into anything if it takes 2 years to get over somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
So okay, so you just was a kind of like a season of self-discovery. Did you read books, or how were you able to formulate your process?
I'll be 100% honest. 99.9% of my work is Holy Spirit inspired. I coach PhDs in psychology. I coach therapists. I coach people and they are just blown away, because I really operate off grace, wisdom, knowledge. Even the book I wrote, everything is just downloaded. So for me, it's been a 12-year and ongoing conversation with the Holy Spirit. I know it sounds super spiritual, but I am genuinely a manifestation of a conversation with God. So the whole process, I am a certified life and performance coach and business coach. So I have done the qualifications, but I would be remiss to say that it is because of those, because anyone who's ever done these qualifications doesn't come out necessarily knowing very much more about reality and real life and healing real traumas. So I am a bit of a geek. I've read everything going. I read everything. I'm literally, I don't watch TV. I am literally obsessed with my mission and my purpose. So I'm always reading 2 or 3 books. So I'm always learning, always growing, but the methods I use, definitely a conversation with the Holy Spirit is really about, and also the way that I coach and the way that I do everything is really by inspiration.
Right. Well, this next question is actually from somebody that's online. And I guess let me ask it, and then I'm going to kind of segue it. It says wanted to know the best ways to navigate the dating landscape as a Christian, especially for older singles who still desire marriage, because it really sounds like a lot of what you're talking about is all centered around healing. Is that correct? And if you heal, you're going to attract. Is that accurate?
It's half the story. I feel that the first part of the story is you have to be very strategic, and you need to know how to move in particularly this particular dating world, because everybody's moving through 1,000,001 options. So, there is a very strong strategic side to my work where, you need to learn what to say, what to look out for, how to move, how to present yourself, how to show up, what you should expect, who you can attract, not what you would like to attract, but who your brand can attract, if you like, if we're going to kind of use that language, and really having deeper self-awareness. And, now the healing piece supports the strategy. Because if you don't have the healing, you won't have the courage to follow through with the strategy. You won't have the courage to walk away from somebody that is red flagging you. You won't have the courage to ask for your needs to be met. You won't have the courage to do all of these other things that are strategic. So it's a two-part work. You have to be very strategic. In terms of the Black Swan Relationship Academy, we literally do a transformational work. So you would work with our stylist. We would style you. We would brand you. We would brand your Instagram. We brand your dating apps. We brand. Wow. We teach you. We give you scripts. We show you what to say. We literally hold your hand. It is, you constantly have somebody on the phone with you all the time.
Wow.
And, we literally vet and go through every messaging session you have with every single woman or man. So the coaching service literally is very transformative, which allows us to get the results in the short space of time that we are able to do so. But yeah, it helps. But, I've created courses that people can actually do separately. But there is strategy, but the healing piece is a non-negotiable.
So it sounds like you're almost like a PR company. I mean, kind of, you mentioned Matt, you said every conversation with a woman or man, you said, so I'm like, are you coaching men on this too?
Yes.
Oh, really?
We have to be fair, my practice was made for women in the beginning. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I started having men asking me to work with them. So I worked with them personally, pastors, sort of broken marriages where the man really, was referred to me. So I found that men needed the service just as much as the women did, but I hadn't set up the business for that. So I sort of ran it through on a referral only business because I didn't want to create any unhealthy relationships. So I would only take and coach men that were referred to me personally by people that I trusted and knew. But now I realize my coaches are now trained in terms of training and coaching men because the need is high. Men do contact me and I love men. So I'm happy to do God's work in, with men and with women. Yeah.
Are you doing any matchmaking?
Sadly, no.
Well, it seems like a natural extension to what you're doing because you got men and women that want to meet.
Right. I think I need to get a matchmaker, but I have to be honest, my gift has its limits. To this day, I am yet to matchmake people. Every time I matchmake people, they just don't get on, right? They're like, no, what were you thinking? So I understand my gift has limits. I'm really good at helping you attract and hunt and find specifically what is right for you. That's what I'm really good at. And showing you how to do it. And I like that better because it's a real kind of authentic connection.
Yeah. So how important is it for women? Because I know you're big on feminine energy and tapping into that in order to attract a person, a man. How important is that to do?
Until I came across the understanding. And at the time that I came across it, really, I knew what it was, but I didn't have the language for it. But something that I always had intuitively was, and certainly something that men would say to me all the time, you really make me feel like a man, and I never quite understood what that meant, but I heard it a lot. So, so a lot of things were quite intuitive for me. And I learned later on when I started listening to experts and people, and it was really very much something that was done in the spiritual world, new agey kind of rah. Nothing really that I'd heard within Christianity, but I knew that intrinsically was there. And I knew the Holy Spirit had been talking to me about this other version, this very important piece. So the importance of feminine energy and masculine, really, to be honest, is polarity. And the truth is, we are going to have greater chemistry and greater attraction and a more successful relationship when we have polarity. But we live in a world that tells us to neutralize, right? We've got equal energy and neutralizing energy. Men are women, men are women, women are men. People can change their sex, etc. We this is the world we live in. It's just, there are no genders, there are no, and what happens is in relationships, and if you can extend it further to life, but it definitely in relationships, it kills the chemistry, and what we end up having are two competitive people, right? They're two men and two women, and this is really, it causes a lot of breakdowns, but it also, on a dating element, it stops attraction, right? Because a very feminine woman is going to naturally attract a masculine man.
Right.
If you are neutral, you're going to be attracting people that are neutral, and you're always going to butt heads at some point, because neutrality doesn't work for relationships, especially because relationships, romantic ones, have the element of chemistry that no other relationship has. So, for chemistry to be there, which changes a friendship from a romantic relationship, this polarity is important.
Yes.
I feel that, feminism was very much a key proponent, especially second and third wave feminism, to stopping women from being feminine. Because in order to compete with men, we kind of had to become men. But we will always be the lesser man. So it's just not going to work. So albeit I am not against feminism per se, I certainly don't identify as one in the modern day, but I do know the value of women having their rights and being free. But at some point, right, we have to realize that if we're going to connect romantically, I have to truly fully be my feminine woman self, and the man has to be his masculine self. But again, some men are feminine too, right? So it's really about finding your polarity. If you're hyper masculine, you want to be with a feminine man, but you can't complain when you're with a feminine man and he's more passive and he lets you do the dating and he lets you do the chasing. You can't complain about that, because that's how it is. And a lot of women want to have this masculine energy, but still kind of have the man still be the man. You kind of can't have both. You kind of have to decide which one you want. So yeah, it's a big piece of the puzzle for both men and women, but definitely for women, because feminine energy is more influential. So when women become more feminine, they can influence a man so much easier than a woman. Yeah,
men will do anything for a woman. Men fought wars for women. I heard Stefan Speak say one time, he said, if a man and a woman, like if let's say there's a masculine woman or a feminine man, if they break up, the woman will always date a more masculine man, and the man will always date a more feminine woman.
Yeah,
because that's really what we crave. Deep down. So what is the polarity with a feminine man? Is it a masculine woman? Because that doesn't seem like it would work either, right?
I have seen it work, but under very specific circumstances. And that is that the man is willing and prepared and happy to be the submissive. Very few men are willing to do that. That's the truth. But I have seen house husbands. I have seen husbands that, stay home, cook, clean, and, it seems to work. I have heard complaints from the wife at some point.
Yeah. I feel like the woman is always going to resent you at some point because for not standing up and growing a set.
Yeah.
You know, like women want a man to lead them, even if they act like they don't. That's what I found. They'll try things. They'll try to lead. They'll try to, and then you deep down, and it sounds misogynistic, but I'm going to say it. They want you to check them and say, no, I'm not going to tolerate that.
100%.
And it's to turn on. It turns on because they're like, that's what they want. And listen, not to say, I believe what the Bible says, love your wife as Christ loved the church. It means the man should be willing to die for her. Like, so, but at the same time, the woman should respect her husband and follow him. Ultimately, not to say follow him like he's, it's a partnership. I get it. But at the end of the day, the man is the leader.
Yeah. There's order.
There's order.
There's order. And we cannot go against divine order. And we are always gonna work at our absolute optimum when there's order. Right. And the truth is, like you said, we do crave, especially if you're a powerful woman like myself. I definitely crave somebody who is able to put a lid on it. Now, I'm very respectful because I know how to be that. And I'm very humble because I know how to be that in a relationship. But I do appreciate a man that can be, no, I don't like that. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Ultimately, it's I know some guys that let the women run the relationship, and then the one, she's always nagging the hell out of them, whipping him around like a puppy. And I'm like, dude, it's based in fear is what it boils down to. He's afraid of losing her, so he won't stand up to her, and it causes her to resent him. So she starts mistreating him, nagging the hell out of him, and it's like, I just don't feel like a woman respects that. Versus you have to be at some point, a woman's not going to be sexually attracted to a man that she doesn't respect.
No.
What I found.
No.
And you have to get that. You have to take the respect sometimes, where it means sometimes you got to put all your chips in and be like, if I lose it, it doesn't matter, but you're not going to treat me this way.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So how important is, back to the healing, because I feel like the reason sometimes, probably for men too, but for women, I think the reason that they put up these walls and they get into that masculine is they've been hurt before. Hey, Rob Kowalski here. When I first got serious about living intentionally and becoming a better version of myself, I found a major shortage of things to do and people to do them with. And it was the loneliness and boredom that led me to starting CityFam. So I just want to take a moment right now and encourage you to go over and join the CityFam Facebook community. It's a free Facebook group, and in it you'll find purpose-driven people from all over the world that want to enjoy life to the fullest. You can search it on Facebook, or you can go to www.friendswithbetterbenefits.com and it'll take you right there. While I'm mentioning it, if you're single, searching for real love before sex, as I like to say, I want to encourage you to join the Waiting Works community. That's another free Facebook group I put together designed to help people wait well, date well, and ultimately hit the mark in life and love. And you can go to www.reallovewaits.com and I'll see you over there. Now back to the episode. Yeah. So they're trying to protect themselves because is it more vulnerable to be feminine, or in your opinion, or what do you think?
Yes. 100%. Feminine energy is vulnerable. Yeah. And this is the piece that creates problems. And this is the work that I do a lot with my clients, and it is a problem because when you show a masculine man vulnerability, his instinct is to protect you. When you don't show him vulnerability and you're combative, his natural instinct is to compete with you and to conquer you, because masculine energy is conquering, competitive, and controlling, and feminine energy is passive, patient, and vulnerable. So when we are, when a woman takes a particular position, she triggers what she doesn't want in the man. So a lot of the fights and the arguing, because a man who is especially masculine is going to naturally, if he feels threatened, he's a good man is not going to get violent, but what a lot of women don't understand is that men are wired very differently. If you kind of are combative, for instance, because you've got this point to make or whatever, or you feel hurt and you feel you have to kind of go at him, the first thing that will come out will not be protection. It's going to be competition. But if you are vulnerable, you are going to trigger his protective and cherishing instinct, which would kill 80% of the arguments married people have. Because if you are gentle, even if you are right, and you have the tools, I've got a course called How to Talk to Men So They Listen. It's very good. You can men don't want to fight with your women. They want to make them happy. That's the bottom line. They want to make you happy. They feel better about themselves when the woman is happy. And so if you understand that, it's easier to be vulnerable. But a lot of women don't understand that because they've had a lot of bad experiences with men who are not necessarily grown or who are wounded themselves, or who are in their feminine energy, because feminine energy men don't tend to be sympathetic to the feminine.
Got
They
it.
compete with the feminine. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I want to get into some I saw on your I think it was on your website where you talked about high value men are looking for high value feminine women.
Yes.
And you said when you figured that out, what it truly meant, you began to attract high quality men who treated me like the prize. I got to go into a whole conversation about that. So I got into it. I did a debate recently where I said a man wants a prize. And she's like,
I think I saw that.
Yeah. She's giving me pushback on, I have a problem. Like we're carnival prizes or something. I was like, anyway. So I think it's a
I
good
get that
thing.
too. So it's okay.
Okay. Anyway. So, what does it mean to be a high value feminine woman? I think that's kind of,
it's high value to me. I mean, in the world, there's so many definitions going out here in this world, but the way I see it is a high value woman is a woman with high self-esteem, high self-worth, self-respect, and just, has a self-love that is healthy. Because feminine energy is really abundant. What we do is we live in love, we share the love, and our men exist in the atmosphere of love that we create. So it has to first start from within ourselves. So high values, high status, high self-worth, and the status part is also important, because the man that a woman chooses, the woman that a man chooses gives him a degree of status and social standing. So it's, a man will ultimately gravitate to the woman that will give him greater status, that adds to his social value. A woman that, has high self-esteem, he can't just, push her around, or, she's good, she's confident. And when she stands by his side, she adds value really to him. So that's really a high value woman to me. And so that's again showing up in ways that say, I am somebody and I am a good woman and I'm ready to show up for you like that, but I won't tolerate anything less than what God says I deserve, right? Without being combative or arrogant or proud. So that's a nice little balance, because sometimes we end up with really, really nasty attitudes that are kind of high value, and that's not really what we're trying to do here. And in terms of feminine, it's really about that vulnerability, it's about that passivity, that's about that softness, and feminine energy is two parts. It's also that kind of sensual part of ourselves, as a woman, that's also feminine energy, as opposed to slutty, because these are very fine lines, right? Because even the purest and greatest of men still want a woman that he finds sexually appealing, so she's comfortable within her body. And a lot of women are not necessarily comfortable with their body. They've deserted their bodies. That's why they spread them out like candy on on Halloween, I guess. I don't celebrate it, but you know what I mean? It's really to do with the disconnection between the body and the soul. So, feminine energy is really sitting within your body and understanding that your body is where you reside from.
You mentioned high self-esteem, and then is self-esteem linked to sluttiness? I feel like it is.
Yes. Everything that is broken
Yeah.
My friend R.C. Blakes called it the broken consciousness. Anything that is broken or off divine order, off center, is usually a manifestation of a broken self-esteem.
Yeah. So this is, because this is what this debate that I did recently, she was talking about sex positivity and just, basically like sleeping with whoever, and you're just for sex. Sex feels good, and there's you shouldn't be shamed for it, and blah blah blah. I said, imagine you were dating a man and you fell in love and he proposed to you and you were just thrilled, and then you found out that he proposed to every woman that he dated before you. How would that make you feel? And she's like, he's a sociopath or something. I was like, well, maybe he's just commitment positive. And I was like, because that again, for a woman is in control when we have sex. 99.9 times out of 100, she says when we're going to do it the first time. A man is in control of if and when we get married, because he's the one that proposes. So a woman that just, to me, that just gives it out to everybody has low self-esteem, in the same way a man that proposes to every woman, he's just, will you marry me? Will you marry me? Like, he's like, there's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do feel like the two are very, very, very closely linked.
100% for sure.
Yeah. Well, so how do you, is there any practical ways that you tell people? Well, I mean, I know you have your methods and your processes. I had heard someone, a coach before, write letters called Who Hurt Me? And you would make a list of people that have hurt you, and you actually write a letter to them, not necessarily to be sent. But is there any practical tips that you can give to any listeners or viewers on how to heal?
Do you know what? If you want to heal, you need to co-regulate with somebody. I am not 100%. First and foremost, it's a process. I believe those are definitely one of the tools that I use within my process. And they're sort of multiple tools, but you definitely want to speak to somebody, because there's some patterns we don't see in ourselves. Because the truth is, what we need to heal is not general hurt. What we need to do is disrupt the patterns we developed from the trauma, right? Because that's what's hurting us. It's the patterns we develop and the coping mechanisms that we develop. So those need healing, but those, you can't just heal those in isolation, because you don't know your patterns, because your patterns are very normal to you. If you sabotage relationships, it's very normal. If you avoid relationships, it's very normal to you. So it's really about, number one, really, what I want to see the world move to is taking therapy, coaching, counseling very seriously as part of your, just the way we take going to university and to going to school seriously, which is why I call the Black Swan Relationship Academy, because I realized that ignorance is the biggest, hugest problem, right? So we need to take the process in terms of, I need help. And that needs to not be something that we're ashamed to say. It took me a long time to go to therapy, because I was Miss Black Swan. Thank you very much. I don't need to do it. I help everybody around the world. And it took some humbling, especially after my engagement broke. I was like, something is broken. Okay. So I need to go and fix it. And it was an amazing experience for me. It was so transformative. So, yes, we can write letters to all the people that hurt us. It's definitely going to help. It's going to help us confront some of our pain and our hurt. But will it confront our patterns? Will it confront our coping mechanism? And will it address the actual trauma? Because trauma doesn't just exist in the mind, it also exists in the body. It finds its place in the body, sometimes manifesting as sickness, disease, overweight, all of these things, but it actually sits in our body. So you need somebody who's going to help you sort of move it out of your body and really face it and deal with it and understand it. And that is the most, when that work happens, I live for that. I live for that moment where, you can literally see somebody's face change and the way they look, everything about them is so different. And then I'm like, okay, in 6 weeks time, you're going to meet your person, or you're going to meet your person this year. Cause it's just really about clearing it all out and sort of working through some things. And obviously, if you're Christian, you ask the Holy Ghost, who's very good at counseling. But I really feel that the best way of healing is to seek somebody to co-regulate with, somebody to tell your story, because I will hear your story differently from how you tell it to me, because I'm trained to look for what I'm looking for. So I'm going to hear your story and I'm going to understand why you are exactly the way you are. And then I'm going to show you back your story, and that's going to liberate you. So we will only, if we do write letters, we're going to write them to specific people, because not everyone holds the key to your brokenness. Not everyone who's hurt you, because often a lot of the trauma is between the age of the significant trauma that we are all rehearsing our lives around is between 0 to 7 years old. Your brain has not yet processed the ability to interpret what's going on. And because we're all egocentric until we're about 8 or 9, everything that happens, even if it has nothing to do with us, we internalize it as our reality. So for me, my dad left my mom. He loved me. He was my bestie, but he left my mom. And I lived my whole life believing that people deserted me. He didn't desert me. But at the age of 7, I could only internalize one thing. If things that are bad are happening around me, I'm the cause of it, because that's what egocentricity looks like in a child. Yeah. Because they have not yet developed any other brain functions. So you start to feel like nobody wants me, people desert me. So what would I do? I would only attract men that would reject me or hurt me. And if they weren't like that, I would cause them to do it. Right. I would position them to do it, because I had to support the narrative that I'm not good enough. Right. If I was good enough, Daddy would have stayed. Even though he spent every single day with me, ever since he left my mom, he would still spend time. He would still invest in me. But in my mind, it was because of me. This whole thing happened because of me. So I don't deserve love. I'm not worthy of love. So I was constantly going into these abusive cycles, but also rejecting great guys. I had amazing guys who wanted me, but I'd always go for the guy who was either going to abuse me or take advantage of me, because the story must tell itself. I must, at the end of the day, end up alone. I must end up in tears, because this is my story. So I call it your love story. Every single one of us here have a love story. And the idea is to come to understand it. Some of it we've inherited from our parents, which is handed down like an old piece of, like an old jacket. You know, some of us are like, but I had great parents and they got on and they were in love. But then we forget that children are so good at micro signals. You cannot hide the reality of your marriage from children. In fact, they're the all-seeing, all-knowing people, right? So it's a lot of that trauma that really defines our life. It's not the first boyfriend that hurt your heart, or my ex-husband didn't break me, I came in broken. You know, it took that for me to learn. You know, he was only able to exist because I was so broken. So, you know, we could write letters to him, and that's nice. It's really nice, but it's not going to deal with the real trauma, which is the conversation that I needed to have with myself, with God, and with my father. And, you know, to begin to shape that narrative and begin to shift that narrative. And when I did that, I realized my life is actually the opposite. People don't want to leave. My clients never want to go. Like, I had to end up putting, like, you've got to finish in 3 months. People in my life never want to leave my life. So it was never the truth. You know, I started thinking I've had a best friend for 20 odd years and she's never once wanted to leave. You know, the people I know, I actually have a problem of, can you go? You know, people. So I was running this other narrative that genuinely wasn't true, but it took, you know, unfolding my stories and realizing, oh, I developed a belief when my dad left that I wasn't enough, that people deserted me. And then I was creating it. I was literally creating it, forcefully creating it, but totally oblivious to the fact that I was doing it.
Yeah. No, I did a couple like programs. One was called Landmark. You know Landmark Forum?
No.
So it's like what do they call it? A perspective, not a perspective, but a paradigm shift. It's a lot about what you're saying. It's basically like how we attach meanings to things that don't necessarily mean them. And then we create these stories around them. And then I did this other thing called the Crucible Project. It was very similar, and it was all stuff from your childhood. And what was the first time somebody really, you know, disappointed you or like didn't support you? And what did you make that mean? And yeah, it's a real thing. And so do you do one-on-one coaching with your clients?
Yeah. That's what we do. That's what the coaches do. We've got the academy, people can get courses, but we do one-on-one. Yeah. My coaches and I.
Is this like because to me, I feel like I've done a lot of work, but I still feel like there's junk. I still feel like as you're talking, I'm like, damn, I need this.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, is it ever done? Is it ever finished?
This is the piece. No. I always say to people that the human being is the only being that continues its gestation period outside of the womb, right? We don't actually fully develop, and we're the only mammal apparently that doesn't sort of finish growing in the womb. So I like to explain to people that the process that I take people through is called the Soulmate Attraction System course, and it's like a 3-month process of coaching. Quite intense. And I say that's the womb, but you're going to have to grow outside the womb, which means our healing will never end. I will never stop healing. And this is what I say to people. Some things will never heal. Some things I'm going to walk with a limb, but now if I know that's a limb, I'm going to get a stick and I'm going to support that leg that's weak. So there's some things that were so catastrophically broken in me and did not get the healing. So the bone didn't set right emotionally. So I just have to be aware that I have a tendency to do A, and what I'm going to do is create my life to make sure that A, I'm held accountable in that area. B, I have systems in place that can sort of pull me back. But C, I can warn the person I'm dating, hey, you know what, darling, this is what I do when this happens.
Right.
This is it's always going to trigger me. So here's what we're going to do. Because sometimes a lot of it is communication. So when you see me do this, it doesn't mean anything. I'm just processing.
Gotcha.
Right. So some things will always be bent. Some things will, so I think, because I don't like to give people the expectation that you're going to one day show up healed. Right. Because in the same way as we're being conformed into the image of Christ, it's a process that we shall go through until it is done. And only Jesus knows when it's going to be done. So I think for me, the value is being on that journey, starting it strong, having the tools and staying in community. And you will definitely see the results. You will see them tangibly. But even in that marriage that you're going to get into, you'll be healing through it, and you'll be communicating your pain through it. And you will be warning your partner about who you are. Isn't that wonderful when you can be in a relationship with somebody who's like, you know what, I'm actually broken in this way and I'm working on it. But I just want you to know that if I do this, it really isn't personal. It's me processing this. Then what happens in relationships is people just knock heads. Your trauma comes up, my trauma comes up. We have no idea that we have it. Yeah. 25 years later, 4 kids later, we're walking away and we're devastated, right? But what if I could say, you know what, I was sexually abused as a child. And so when that happens, this happens, or I'm not comfortable with this for this reason. Then your partner never has to press a button they didn't even know, now they know the button is there, they avoid the button and everybody's happy, right? Or they pray through the button with you, or they heal with you through it. And I truly believe that your partner should be the person you co-regulate through life with, you heal with.
Yeah.
They're not your completion, they're not, but let's heal together. And like I always say to my partner, I always say, look, I have one obligation to you, that is to heal. And you have one obligation to me, that is to heal. That's it. Because if I'm healing and you're healing, then we're going to heal together and we're going to be okay, hopefully, but it's not a matter of, let's work it out. And so many people get into relationships in the dark. They're feeling their way around because they don't even know who they are. You need to know who you are. What makes you angry? What kind of conversations do not work for you? What exhausts you? Can you tell your partner that? Imagine if we all had a roadmap for loving the person you love. I love you and I don't want to hurt you, and this is going to hurt you. This, I know for sure this will hurt you, so I'm not going to do that. Half the time we just stumble into hurting each other.
Right.
So I want to create a conscious, intentional community of humans that really see the sacredness of connection with one another and take it very seriously and understand that, I need to nurture you you need to nurture me and we need to heal together.
Yeah, it's good. Before I ask where people can find you, I just want to fire two quick questions at you from people that are watching online. First one is how to know if we have chemistry or even a connection. She said the good men have checked most of the boxes on my list, but then after months or even years of dating, something's off and you're discovering they might not be the one. It's discouraging to keep going through the process. Is there a way to dig deeper with them early on to avoid long drawn out relationships that aren't right? Yeah, that's the question. What do you think?
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that this is something that's really important. When it comes to chemistry, it's a biological thing. It's about pheromones. It's about pheromones that are closest to the pheromones of my mom and my dad. So when I always say to people, don't fall in love with the person you haven't met, you haven't smelt, right? And this is the work of Dr. Pat Allen. And she says, don't fall in love with somebody you haven't smelt. And we're not talking about his color, we're talking about his scent. We all send our pheromones and we breathe them in, they go through the nose and they go to the part of our brain. And that part of our brain is identifying whether that person is close to mom or dad, because the person we're going to have the most chemistry with is familiar to us, but unfamiliar. So not so close to daddy or mommy, but close enough. So attraction scientifically is a very biological thing. So I say that to say that, which is why you could be sitting next to a very married woman or a very married man and your body can have a reaction. It's not because you're a hoe or out of control or crazy or a weirdo, right? Your body has its own signals. It smells that person and it's made up a decision. Now, I and many people, try to make decisions, rationally, and that's fantastic. It's really important. But your body must always choose your person. I say this to people all the time, because chemistry, when the bad days happen, is chemistry that's going to keep it sticky. Okay. So we need to understand that if I'm talking to somebody now, for women and men, chemistry is a little bit different. For men have chemistry or they don't have it. Okay. They like you, they don't like you. It's that simple. They might fall in love with your mind. They might talk themselves into it. But with men, attraction is really, especially masculine energy. I like what I see or I don't like it, right? With women, we have the capacity to build chemistry. So even if I smell you and not quite right, I can build chemistry. So what I say to my clients is, if by the third date, he still feels like your brother, he's not your man. Okay. And obviously for men, they're not even going on a date unless their eyes like you. So that's sorted, Now, obviously a woman can kill attraction in a man by her behavior, saying the wrong things, behaving in the wrong way. Even if a man is 100% attracted to you, he can actually lose attraction. He might still want to sleep with you, if we're talking about in general in the world, but he's not trying to keep you. Like his attraction can sort of die out quite quickly.
Sure.
So for women, it's really about training them to, master attraction in a man. What gets a man excited on a deeper, more emotional, spiritual level, because he's already chosen with his eyes. You're already on that date because he likes the look of you.
Right.
Already, men don't really go for what they don't like. You're just straightforward beings, right? It's easy, simple. I like coaching you. You're the best. But, women, we can actually build chemistry. So I always say, give a guy 3 dates, even if you think no. I mean, unless you really want to throw up in your soup or throw up, then fair enough. We're not going to do that. But if he's kind of like, okay, feels like a friend, give him another date, because with men, it takes them a while to warm up and be themselves on a date because they're, trying to impress you. And sometimes they say the wrong things. But, after 3 dates, so all my swans have to give a man 3 days if he's asking for it, of course. So if he does ask you for another date and the third one, and then on the third date, you can say, you know what, I just don't have the romantic chemistry I need for us to continue. And I don't want you to feel used. So I'm happy to be friends, for instance. So let your body choose too. Your body gets to say, it's really important.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I think I feel entirely the same way. I have seen it grow though,
yeah.
There's a girl, First City Fan Marriage. My co-founder liked a girl in the organization. She did not like him. And she just kept him in the friend zone for about, I want to say 2 years.
Yeah.
And then eventually she just started looking at him differently. Now they're married with a baby.
Yeah.
So it can happen, but I wouldn't count on it happening. That's what I always tell people. Like, I'm either going to feel it. Now, maybe I'll eventually feel it, but I'm not going to date someone hoping that I'm going to feel it.
Yeah.
One day it's going to turn into that. Like that to
Yeah.
me is a terrible strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the number one takeaway from that is make sure your pheromones aren't foul.
Yes. We want to make sure that, you know, we give ourselves permission, we give our bodies permission to have a vote. But, you know, the reason why, you know, for instance, like I said, this is the advantage women have. Women have an advantage over men. You know, men don't fall in love easy, but when they do, they fall in love hard. Women fall in love easy. Okay, now women are thinking, no, we don't. Yes, we do. We do. We actually made to fall in love quite easily, and men not so much, right? A man can sleep with 1,000,001 women and never fall in love with one. For us, a bit of bonding and we're gone, right? We're in love, right? Or he sweet talks us and we're in love, because we're actually built. That's the beauty of feminine energy. It's so fluid, it's so moving, but it's also part of how we're also built biologically. Now, women are more emotional creatures. So a woman can actually be swayed because emotions are so easy to sway, whereas men are more logical creatures, and you fall in love with your eyes. Your bodies have the very big vote. You know, if your body likes her and she's respectful and submissive and sweet and funny and kind and sexy, she's in, right? For the most part, you know. 100%. She's in. But for us girls, you know, a bit of kindness, you know, which is kind of typical of my ex-boyfriend, my ex-fiance. He was everything I didn't fancy physically, everything, right? But kind, very kind, right? So it kind of sort of turned things for me. So you can easily kind of, if a woman gives herself a chance and she's got a good man, but like you said, I don't advocate it because there's so many options that there's no point in wasting somebody else's time, because they're probably investing, especially for men, because you do a lot of the paying. You know, I know that, you know, we live in a 50-50 age, but by and large, most masculine men will do the heavy lifting with the paying. So it's a financial investment for him. It's a time investment for him. And you're not interested. That's not fair. You know, and I always teach this once, we need to play fair. So the fairest thing to do is to do 3 dates. And if he's somebody that's already in your world, you go to the same church, you work in the same building, hey, keep a friendship going. You never know what might happen. But if it's just somebody you've met on an app or on the streets, just let them go and find their person.
It's good. All right. Someone asked about interracial dating. It says, should the race of a man you're looking to date when you're looking for a high quality mate matter? Why or why not?
Oh, I love this one, to be honest.
You ever date a white guy?
I have dated all through my 30s. All I dated were white guys. Yeah. I'm very open. I have found, though, as I've gotten older, I do appreciate having shared culture. And that's really more that than physical attraction, because I find white men as attractive as I find black men. You know, and for a long time I thought I'd marry a white guy, and I'm still not married. So who knows, you know, I'm still not married. So my thing really is kind of, you know, it's all about cultural compatibility. So I feel like if you are both, for instance, English, and you were both brought up in an English culture, in a Western way of life, then compatibility is the key here at this point. I don't think that you should restrain yourself, but if we are dating cross-culturally, I don't want anybody to be naive about the impact of compatibility in that instance. You know, I had a situation with my partner. He's Jamaican and I am Zimbabwean from descent. And whilst we're both Black, there's some cultural situations going on. Now, I, as a Zimbabwean woman, was raised to be very submissive and never interrupt a man when he's talking, right? This is how I was raised. And, you know, it's what comes naturally to me. So in a conversation, I would just let him talk and talk, you know, and then I get exhausted and then I'm like, can I say something now? But he's thinking I'm silent because I've got nothing to say, right? So I was like, didn't feel like I say anything, so I'm frustrated. And it's like, you could have interrupted me at any point, you could have just interrupted me. I was like, but that's disrespectful and that's rude, I said to him. And he's like, no, it's not, so we had this kind of almost fallout situation, because I was like, are you asking me to be rude? Right. But this has got nothing to do with rudeness or anything. It's just to do with the fact that I come from a specific culture. I come from a culture where, we're very old school. I was raised very old school. I cook, I clean, I still run a business, but I still consider the home care my responsibility as a woman. This is not to say it's true for everyone. It's just for me and my culture, and when I date white guys, they want to cook for me. That's fantastic, but it feels awkward, like, okay, now and again you can cook. That's okay, And I did enjoy being spoiled, but it was still kind of a bit awkward. But these are nice little awkward things that you can adjust to. But there are some fundamental things like, when you, date me and marry me, you don't just marry me, you marry my mom, you marry my sisters. You are responsible not only for myself, but for their care. And for a Western guy, that's a lot. I married your behind. I'm not looking after everybody. So right. If he's like African and or Caribbean African, he's going to understand that. That's going to naturally and intuitively come to him, because I look after my mom, I look after my siblings who are not in great place, and this is very natural to my culture. But I know that a man who might come from a Western world will think, why? Right. And they're old enough, shouldn't they be able to do that? But it's just the way the culture is. So it's easier culturally rather than racially, if that makes sense. So I would marry a white guy if he was Zimbabwean and raised the way I was raised,
Understood. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. This is awesome. I really enjoyed this, Chengi. You dropped so many nuggets on me and everyone that's watching or listening. I'm sure they got a ton of value out of it. Tell everyone where they can find you online and on social media and your coaching and all that.
Well, everybody can find me at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. It's actually blackswanrelationshipacademy.com. And on all of my social handles, just type in Black Swan Relationship Academy and pop.
Nice. And you have a program, a specific program. I'm gonna make sure I get this. Something about the Breakup. Hold on, make sure. The Breakup Clinic Masterclass. Is that right?
Yes, the Breakup Clinic Masterclass is the current new course that I'm very excited about. Now, it's not my signature course. My signature course is the Soulmate Attraction, which is where we do all the deep healing and messy stuff. But one of my clients said something to me. She's like, I wish I'd done this before I did the soulmate, because often people come to me after a breakup, during one, or when one is about to happen. And I find that how they handle, how you end one relationship is pretty much how you will start the other, because things must go full circle. So if I don't know how to end a relationship, if I don't know how to heal from a relationship, I don't have to conclude a relationship, I'm only going to finish it with somebody else, basically. So for me, it's about stemming the flow so that we can actually move on indeed, and of course, I deal with, people whose marriage is on the brink and, or who are coming straight out of a divorce or going through a divorce. And it's very devastating because it's our understanding of what is a relationship. What does a breakup really truly mean? So it's really kind of going into the depths. I think that it's a course. It's really meaty. It's probably got like 20 something videos, and it's got workbooks and workbooks and workbooks, because I really feel like, whether you're going through a breakup or not, I feel that it's, in fact, everyone should do it, because it's going to shift your perspective on why you're in a relationship in the first. So what does this relationship mean? So one of the things I talk about in there is, everyone is a lesson in a mirror. So even when I met my partner, I was like, God, I'm ready for this lesson. And I'm ready for you to show me who I am and where I've reached. And that's all this is. And when it ends, the class has ended and I'm ready for the next class, right? Whereas before it used to be, oh, woe is me, I'm not good enough. No one is ever gonna love me. What's wrong with me? And 2 years would go by, right? I know it's an extreme case, but like I said, I'm a highly sensitive person. But if we can really see what relationships mean for God, for us, is going to be fantastic. So that's what it's really about, the Breakup Clinic. Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah. Definitely want to stay connected with you. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm super, super honored. I've had a fantastic time, actually. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody go check Chengi out online. register for some of our courses and let me know. All right. Talk to you later.